Google DeepMind just committed $75 million to prove the future of Hollywood isn't in a director's chair anymore, it's in an AI system. They've partnered with A24, one of the independent film world's most respected studios, and this isn't a small research experiment. This is a full-on, money-on-the-table bet that AI is about to fundamentally reshape how movies and shows get made. Think about what that means when a tech giant like Google DeepMind puts $75 million behind creative AI. They're not just building a cool tool. They're signaling to the entire entertainment industry that the rules of filmmaking are about to change. Here's a comparison that makes it real. The printing press didn't destroy writers, but it did transform how stories reach the world. AI in filmmaking works the same way. Within just a few years, you could be watching scenes that were conceptualized by AI, storyboarded by humans and AI together, and even partially created using generative tools, all seamlessly blended. The partnership between DeepMind and A24 is where that future changes from theoretical to happening right now, and that's just the beginning. Understand why Google DeepMind's bet matters so much. You need to know where AI and entertainment have been heading for the past few years. AI didn't just show up in Hollywood out of nowhere. It's been building momentum quietly behind the scenes. Text-to-image tools like Dolly and Midjourney showed that AI could generate stunningly realistic images in seconds. Then video synthesis tools started improving, and suddenly you could generate short clips with prompts. Meanwhile, AI scriptwriting assistants were helping writers brainstorm dialogue and story beats. But here's what was missing. Nobody had put serious enterprise backing behind the creative side of filmmaking. The studios and tech companies were still treating AI as a side tool, not a core part of the creative pipeline. That's the gap Google DeepMind and A24 are filling. A24 isn't just any film studio. They've backed hits like Hereditary, Midsommar, The Lighthouse, and Minari. They're known for taking creative risks, so when they partner with Google DeepMind, it's not about using AI to make cheap content. It's about using AI to amplify human creativity at a scale and speed that wasn't possible before. This is the moment creative AI stops being experimental and becomes foundational. Here's what the headlines aren't telling you. So what's actually in the deal? Google DeepMind and A24 are building tools that plug directly into the filmmaking workflow. Imagine a tool that takes a director's rough concept, a mood board, a script description, a visual reference, and generates fully realized shot compositions, character designs, and even rough storyboards. That's not science fiction anymore. That's what they are building. The AI systems involved here aren't just image generators like you might play with online. They're specialized models trained on decades of film history, cinematography techniques, color grading choices, editing patterns, sound design decisions. When you feed a scene description into these systems, the AI doesn't just make a random image. It understands cinema. It knows that wide shots build tension differently than close-ups. It understands pacing, composition, and visual language. The $75 million funds development of these specialized tools, plus infrastructure to integrate them into professional filmmaking pipelines. Think of it like adding a super-intelligent creative assistant to every director's team, one that never sleeps, never needs a paycheck, and can iterate on ideas thousands of times in the time it takes a human to sketch one concept. What they are creating isn't meant to replace filmmakers. It's meant to free them from the grunt work so they can focus on the vision. But here's where it gets complicated. So what does this actually look like in practice? Imagine a filmmaker working on a sci-fi epic. Traditionally, they'd spend weeks on pre-visualization, hiring concept artists, doing tons of iterations, waiting days for feedback. With DeepMind's tools, they describe their vision and get AI-generated shot angles, character designs, and color palettes in minutes. Then they tweak and refine them with a few prompts. What used to take a team of specialists 3 months now happens in 3 days. Or think about an indie filmmaker with almost no budget. Today, they are severely limited by what they can actually shoot. They can't afford extras, expensive locations, or stunning visual effects. But with AI-assisted filmmaking, they can generate background elements, extend their locations, populate crowds, and create visual polish that normally requires a Hollywood budget. The film industry has always been bottlenecked by time and money. Indie filmmakers especially struggle because they lack resources. Studios struggle because they are locked into traditional production timelines. Creative AI flips that equation. A24's got the creative credibility and industry connections. Google DeepMind brings the AI firepower. Together, they are creating a toolkit that levels the playing field. The first projects will likely be experimental, not full movies, but shorts, music videos, or proof-of-concept pieces. But that's how revolutionary tools always start. And this is where things get surprising. This partnership matters because it's different from how tech companies have approached entertainment before. Netflix invested billions in original content. Amazon Studios does the same, but both are still working within the traditional production model, hiring crews, shooting with cameras, waiting months for post-production. They're essentially outsourcing content creation to traditional filmmakers and studios. Google and A24's partnership is fundamentally different. They're trying to rebuild the creative process from the ground up using AI as a core ingredient, not an afterthought. It's similar to how digital photography didn't just make film cameras obsolete. It transformed what was possible. You could take thousands of photos, experiment endlessly, share instantly. The technology didn't replace photographers. It made photography more democratic and accessible. That's the theory here too. Compare this also to OpenAI's relationship with Hollywood. OpenAI released text and image generation tools that filmmakers could experiment with, but there was no strategic partnership aimed at transforming the industry. It was tools first, industry adoption second. DeepMind and A24 are going the opposite direction, industry partnership first, purpose-built tools second. A24 brings understanding of what filmmakers actually need. DeepMind brings the AI research firepower to build it. Neither side could do this alone. And here's the twist nobody expected. The real question everyone in Hollywood is asking right now is, what does this mean for jobs? Here's the honest answer. Some jobs will change drastically, some will disappear, but others will explode in demand. Visual effects artists who spend weeks rendering scenes might find that AI can do rough versions in minutes, but someone still needs to direct those AI systems, tweak the outputs, and ensure quality. That's actually more of a curator role than an artist role. Concept artists might not need to illustrate every single idea anymore, but they'll probably spend more time art directing AI outputs and maintaining visual consistency. Production timelines will compress from months to weeks. That's huge for studios trying to stay competitive. Creativity itself doesn't disappear, it gets amplified. The barrier to entry drops massively though. Today, you need connections, money, and usually a degree to break into filmmaking. With these tools, someone with talent and a laptop could produce professional quality shorts. That's a threat to the gatekeepers, but it's also liberation for everyone else. The other implication, this is just the beginning of AI touching creative industries. If it works for film, what about music, design, advertising, games? Every creative field will eventually face this transformation. The $75 million isn't really about one partnership. It's about the signal. Creative AI is no longer a future possibility. It's happening now, and that's the thing that changes everything. So if you're a filmmaker or content creator, here's what you need to know right now. First, the tools aren't widely available yet. This partnership is still in early stages, but they'll likely open beta access within months. If you want to be ahead of the curve, follow A24's announcements and DeepMind's research updates. Second, start thinking about your creative workflow differently. These tools won't replace your vision, but they'll accelerate your pre-production. Get comfortable with prompt engineering, describing your ideas in ways that AI systems understand. Third, consider what problems these tools solve in your specific projects. Need storyboards fast? Need to extend your shooting locations? Need visual effects on a budget? Start sketching ideas now. Fourth, if you're a studio exec, this signals that your competitive advantage isn't massive budgets anymore, it's creative direction and curation. The future belongs to filmmakers who can harness AI effectively, not those with the biggest crews. The window to adapt is closing fast. But here's what you really need to know about what comes next. Here's what you need to remember about this partnership. It's not about replacing filmmakers. It's about amplifying them. Google DeepMind's $75 million investment with A24 signals that the creative industries are on the edge of a transformation. This is the moment where AI stops being a theoretical future possibility and becomes a practical tool that studios and independent creators can actually use. The studios that adapt fastest will have an enormous competitive advantage. The filmmakers who learn to collaborate with AI systems will unlock creative possibilities that seemed impossible just 5 years ago. The independent creators who couldn't afford Hollywood production values can now achieve them. But here's the thing, creative vision still matters more than processing power. The best films will still come from people with something meaningful to say. AI just gives them a faster, cheaper way to say it. If you're into film, tech, or the intersection of both, this is the story to watch over the next year. These tools will reshape Hollywood, they'll change what's possible for independent creators, and they'll raise some profound questions about art and creativity. The next chapter of filmmaking isn't being written in Los Angeles studios right now. It's being written in meetings between tech companies and creative partners. And it's happening a lot faster than anyone expected. Follow for daily AI news to stay on top of what's next.